At any rate, that is what we're going to try to do.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Deep Dive Zone, a Sonic the Hedgehog reread series for fans of all shapes and sizes. I'm your host, Devin, as always, joined by my comrades Lauren and Bruce, and today we are looking at more of Archie's Sonic the Hedgehog. Except we're not doing issues 16 through 20, we're doing issues 16 through 18, and then a special, and then 19.
Okay, for a second I thought I read 19 for no reason this week.
No, we're doing alright.
Is there a reason they divided some stories into specials like that?
Is weird.
They want your money, is why.
Fair.
Yeah, I thought that was probably the reason.
That makes the most sense. Well, the most sense, quote unquote. It is weird because the story in the In Your Face special, at least the first one, is like that's pretty important to what was going on in just the previous issue.
Yeah, this will be a recurring thing with the specials. I hate it.
Of course.
It's fine here in the year of our Lord 2022 when we've got access to all the nice digital versions of these comics. But back in the day, and when I say back in the day, yes, that's true for the 90s, but it was also true for, the mid-2000s when we were growing up. And it was like, oh, you gotta buy Sonic Select to read this, and it's like, well, why?
The absolute gall of the people putting together the archives to put the specials separately. They just had to capitalize on it again.
Which I guess I should clarify, I'm going to be putting the reading order that we're using for all of these in the descriptions. It's one made by Bobby Schroeder, who is a big inspiration for me in making all this stuff, because I read her Archie Sonic Live blog and was like, hey, I can do an even stupider version of this. But yeah, we are starting off with Sonic the Hedgehog number 16 here. And, hey, Sally's design is finally up to date.
Yeah, just suddenly.
Yeah, no snarky jokes about it this time. We're starting off here with Sonic Under Glass, written by Kantarovich and Penders, art by Monarch. When the Freedom Fighters have seemingly conquered Robotropolis off-screen, but it turns out that their victory was an elaborate simulation created by Robotnik.
I disapprove of the misleading cover, because it portrays the story, but not accurately 100%.
It's a shame also, because it is a pretty cool cover.
I agree.
I think it makes sense, because if you portrayed what was actually going on, you would spoil the actual twist.
Yeah, I guess I can take it as an exaggerated sort of a thing, but
it
feels like false advertising kind of.
There are ways that you could portray it more accurately, I guess.
Well, hey, we will have a comic relatively soon that is much more like what is depicted on this cover.
All right.
I remember that one, yeah, and I got confused because I saw this. I'm like, wait, is it this one? No, it's the other one.
Yeah. But yeah, so we start off with the Freedom Fighters, and they're just standing in front of Robotropolis. It doesn't look any different. Like, I don't know if it's meant to be literally on fire because they did that, or if that's just how it's expected to look.
I have a feeling that that's Robotnik's backup plan. Like, if they were able to take Robotropolis, he'll just set it all on fire.
You're not far off.
Of course. All right.
Anyway, so yeah, we see that they've supposedly won and just immediately time skip to Sonic and Sally getting married.
Yeah, so they're just like 6 months later and completely skip over the transition between will they, won't they silliness to actual wedding time, which I get in the story. It's meant to make you question things and whatnot.
Right.
It's still weird, though.
It is odd.
Well, most of the focus is just on Antoine being upset about it, which is like, please stop. Please just stop with this. Like, have they ever actually portrayed Sally as having any kind of real feelings for Antoine? It seems pretty one-sided.
I don't think so. I think Antoine just feels because he is self-declared royal guard, he also deserves love.
Yeah, well, I just mean in a meta context. It's like they present Sonic and Antoine as rivals to one another, but they're really not.
The very one-sided rivalry.
Yeah. So yeah, they have their fake wedding, and it turns out to be a fake wedding, because it's actually a simulation.
It was all a simulation.
Oh no, it's
And
Matrix
honestly,
theory all over again.
an actual good plan from Robotnik.
Legit, it actually is a
Okay.
pretty good plan.
Okay. Hold on a minute there.
Okay.
So first of all, I'll give them a little credit. I like that Crabmeat is like, why didn't you just kill the boss? And Robotnik's like, because that wouldn't be fun, idiot.
Exactly.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, good job. However, it is so infuriating that a stupid fake chili dog advertisement caught all the freedom fighters. If this plan worked, Robotnik literally won from a stupid fake advertisement.
I guess to be fair, the advertisement part, I can agree that's dumb.
It's like suddenly you're watching like a Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote cartoon, and just the the Acme rocket anvil or whatever actually works, and he just dies.
Literally how it feels.
Basically, yeah. But everything besides that, it's not a bad plan.
They should have just made it something other than free chili dogs. Make it a letter from the king,
Exactly. There you go. Hey, we could write these comics better than the actual writers could.
Definitely. That would be an improvement. Yeah, no, I'll admit it's a fun sort of a plan. And very diabolical, but not a convincing lead-in.
Yeah, well, and the way that it gets solved is kind of hard to figure out because Uncle Chuck appears in the simulation and Sonic's like, why aren't you roboticized? And we don't really get an answer on that. We don't know why exactly the simulation is starting to break down or why Sonic can think his way out of it.
Okay, so it took me a minute, but I have the answer. Robotnik made it to fulfill the freedom fighters' wishes, and as soon as Antoine's wishes conflicted with Sonic's, the simulation started to try to get to fulfill both and get pulled both ways. And then obviously Sonic wants Chuck back, so then it's like, oh, well then Chuck's back, even though it doesn't make sense. And then when Sonic's like, what's going on? Chuck will answer because that's what Sonic wants. The simulation is just doing its job. It just can't stay convincing because the desires conflict.
Interesting.
Okay, you know what? That's fair.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it makes sense.
It's the Matrix if it was made by stupid people.
Basically.
Speaking of stupidity, Uncle Chuck has blue hands throughout all this.
You're right. I didn't notice that.
Huh.
That's not the right color. He doesn't have blue arms.
I think my brain just put gloves on him.
Something else weird about Chuck is for exactly one frame, he is accompanied by our friends Al and Cal.
Yeah, what was that all about? Like, why?
I think Monik just wanted to draw them in there.
So random, I don't understand.
That's how Sonic gets out. He gets so frustrated at the prospect of having to exist in a universe with them, even if it's a virtual reality, that he's like, alright, jacking in, controlling the system.
Literally what he does the very next frame.
Why is this VR system hooked up to the control for the machines?
Because Robotnik wants to be able to view his diabolical simulation from anywhere, so it's hooked up to every computer. He's overconfident. He's like, no, I don't need computer security because no one can crack my mainframe or whatever, but of course...
So it's like one of those stupid, crypto wallet things where it's just like, oh yeah, just put all your passwords and medical information on the blockchain. It's one of those.
It's one of those.
Oh no.
These comics were ahead of their time.
God damn it.
Yes.
But yeah, Sonic takes control of things, he destroys all the machines, or makes them destroy themselves, rather. They get everybody out, and they escape. And
there's a little bit there that I noticed that I would like you all to think about with me, because I don't understand. So, the Freedom Fighters, aside from Sonic, are let out of... They're in, little back-to-tank tubes or whatever. But Sonic is not with them and pops out of the television somehow. How does that
what
work?
the
hell? Maybe he was behind the television?
He should still be in his own tube for all this.
Well, I mean, maybe his tube was behind the television.
No, we can see it. It's with the others.
It was shown it was not earlier.
That's true.
Actually, Tails and Sally's tubes switch position as well. And also, Rotor is to the right of Sally, which he doesn't even have a tube in the original shot.
Oh my god.
So there's something weird going on there.
You guys, I think Monarch's art may be lacking in terms of polish.
You
It's
suppose so.
little inconsistent there.
So yeah, that's funky. Also, first actual appearance of properly Robot Chuck in this entire comic.
Okay, so that
Yes.
is actually a legitimately beautiful part of the story, and I love it. How Sonic is like, gets the virtual Chuck and Mutsky, and at the end, just casually, because Robotnik's just like, clean up this mess, and then they just come, the robot versions, to just do like mopping duty, and it's like, look at what they have become, and they are still here, and Sonic has to fight for them, and it's like something out of like Sad AM back when
Mm.
Tails was being shown the city, and then Mutsky was there. It's like the stakes are real, and I feel for these characters just for a moment.
What is the dog gonna do to clean up water?
Lick it up. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. There you
How
go.
do you lick things up with a metal tongue?
Maybe
he's
it's
Sorry,
actually,
I'm undermining like the thing that you were saying, which is that yes, it is a good moment to have them just be
Is,
like,
yeah.
oh, they were right there the whole time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so no, I like this one. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Our second story is The Men from Hedgehog, written by Kantorovich and Pender's, art by Monarch. Robotnik attempts to uncover the secret intelligence group leaking information about his plans to the freedom fighters.
Okay, so why is there a spy and it isn't Uncle Chuck?
I
I guess because that was actually a question I had for the previous story that I didn't really get a chance to shove in there. It really seems like they were trying to push the idea that Chuck broke his own brainwashing.
Yeah, that maybe
Well,
he
yeah,
was the one in the
yeah.
system who helped sabotage it or
Right.
something.
They don't really, I guess, expand on that. They just kind of leave it up to thought. And this story would have been a good way to confirm that by saying, yes, Chuck is the spy.
Yeah,
Okay.
instead it's mostly just Scratch Ground or Coconuts Robotnik on a wild goose chase looking for a character who appears once and then disappears for 300 issues or whatever.
This
Um,
story really kind of feels like filler.
Yeah, we've talked about that a couple times. This, I think for me, the big problem is not even that the story is filler, but that we have a secret underground spy network of apparently a whole bunch of people that are aiding the freedom fighters, which really just diminishes the stakes for me.
Yeah, it would be a lot better if it was just one person risking their skin to help the fighters.
Well, it's just that they're played off as like all knowing in this story, which is for comedy. And to
Sure.
be fair, I don't think. Well, as you said, the characters don't show up again, and the network in general doesn't become relevant.
Yeah, no, this story does
again,
not have
so-
bigger aspirations.
So yeah, I guess it diminishes things, but at the same time, it's obviously just a joke, the whole thing. So
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in a period of a very schizophrenic tone for the comics where there's very definite hints of we want this to be more, but that's not true for everybody on the staff.
Right. It's
Um,
clear that some of the staff wants to keep it more like adventures and some want to go more like Sad AM. And then I have a feeling some of them like would want to go like really deep and go like full cinematic universe.
Yeah.
I will say it's funny that in a story that's meant to be filler, we actually get a pretty neat callback because Robotnik's casino shows up again.
Mm.
Reno Botnik.
Didn't expect to see it again.
Yeah. I like that it says welcome vacationing freedom fighters out front, and it still has a giant Robotnik face on it, so it's like, gee, I wonder if this is a trap.
Yeah, honestly, that's fun because it's very obvious that Sally and Sonic know exactly what they're getting into, but they're just like, nah, we can take it. We don't even care. We're gonna vacation.
Yeah, I feel
It's
like they
like-
just want to have fun.
Yeah, they're literally daredevils, like having a vacation, like in a super dangerous area, because that's how they relax.
Yeah, I mean, it's not how everyone relaxes.
Yeah.
I go to active war zones to relax.
You should join the army. I'll make money off of it. Don't actually do that.
I've seen enough about the army that I don't want to.
Anyway, the Secret Intelligence headquarters... Speaking of the army, the Secret Intelligence headquarters, the sign out front says, don't ask, don't tell.
Oh my
Jesus.
word.
Jesus
Wow, I did
Christ.
not see that.
Oh my
Which
god.
is funny. This issue was released. I looked it up. This issue was released just a couple months after Clinton issued that policy.
Interesting.
So that's like almost kind of a ballsy reference. It's not really a joke. Like there's not a point being made, but it's like, huh.
Huh.
But instead, all of this culminates in a reference to the old Tootsie Roll Pop commercials.
Yep, because you gotta end it with a stupid reference gag.
You know, I like Tootsie Roll Pops, but they piss me off because they come on paper sticks. But since the Tootsie Roll is chewy and sticky, it means you're left, like, sucking and teething on, like, a soggy piece of cardboard by the end.
I'm gonna be honest, when I was a kid, I think I just ate the stick.
I don't blame you.
Also, I don't know how many times I tried to, like, count how many licks it would take.
Childhood experiences, ain't they magical?
Man, why
depends
can't
on
I be a
tongue
kid
dampness.
again? Don't forget, licking a lollipop, when you think about it, it's actually really weird because we're actually consuming our flavored saliva.
You know, to be honest, I never thought of it that way.
I'm gonna try not to think of it that way and move on to Sonic number 17 here.
Your weird fact of the day.
We're starting with Guerrilla Warfare, written by Kantorovich and Penders, art by Monic. Robotnik reunites with a creation from his old days, a robot gorilla called King Gong, and uses it to attack the freedom fighters.
So, I know that, like, Adventures is a bad show, and I agree. However, my favorite part of Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog is Robotnik and his silly backstories, so this is just amazing in my mind. We get a backstory straight out of that show. Robotnik was, like, working for a doctorate, which means if he actually got it in the end, he's an actual doctor, so we got a point over Dr. Eggman in that regard, I think. And then he creates, like, a big old monster, and he's actually, like, a caring dad and misses his son, which is amazing.
I don't know about Game Canon Eggman. You are right about, because Sonic Boom Eggman only has a PhD, and I think he bought that on the internet. But this is not only a little bit of backstory for Robotnik here, it's canon backstory. Because specifically, the appearance of Robotnik here, where he has the little tiny short mustache, and he even wears clip-on sunglasses like in the games, that's his canonical, like, early life appearance. The only mistake is that his name tag says I Robotnik instead of Julian Cantober. But yeah, no, this is technically legit. They don't mention it much in later issues, if at all, but Robotnik working in other settlements to get actual, like, education and stuff, that is definitely canon.
Even better. Better and better.
And speaking of Robotnik, just before this, we have, like, SWATbots, like, carrying him on a palanquin like slaves, and I just love the visual of that.
I love that he gets a fun outfit. I always love Robotnik outfits.
Man,
Yeah.
Devin, thank you for telling me what those chairs are called.
I only know because of Steven Universe, but yeah, palanquin.
I will probably not remember that, but thank you for telling me anyway.
Yeah. We've got the designated leisure activity with the freedom fighters, which is just, they have way too much free time on their hands. Protracted King Kong parody ensues, including Sally being the lady that gets taken, you know.
Yeah, I must say it's downhill after the glorious setup. It's mostly just a parody. Although there is a great moment when Sniffly is seeing the iconic King Kong climbs the top of the tower, and he's got these binoculars, and Robotnik's like, "What? Give me those!" And he, like, yanks and chokes him inadvertently. It's unexpected and a great bit of slapstick, I must say.
Yeah. We get some mixed messaging in here, because Sally is, like, trying to sort of talk the robot down, and she seemingly is making progress, because she's just treating him like a creature with actual feelings, which he supposedly is.
Right.
Which makes it really weird when Sonic knocks him down and, like, shatters its head to pieces.
You see, Sally cares, Sonic doesn't.
Yeah, so it's a whatever story. Not gonna be brought up again in major plot points. Our second story is First Star I See Tonight, Sally's Crusade, Part 1. Written by Kantorovich and Penders, art by Mawini. While thinking about her feelings for Sonic, Sally reminisces on the past and her childhood. Her thoughts are interrupted by a mysterious object falling from the sky. So we've got a very different feel here. We've got a much more, sort of quiet story here, I suppose. Which I guess is all that it can be, because it's only 4 pages long.
Yeah, well, it's really part of a story. They decided to split this story over 3 different issues, and they even credit Princess Sally in this story rather than Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah. I like that like Sally thinks to herself, back then my thoughts were on anything but romance, and it shows her saying, I see a knight in shining armor in the clouds. Which is like that's a little bit what that is. You know, maybe she's just a Dark Souls fan, I don't know. But
100% what that is.
Of course.
But yeah, we get flashbacks. So we finally get a glimpse of King Acorn in the comics, which is kind of neat.
Yep, and at this point he just looks like good dad, nice guy. We also finally we retcon the miniseries, so Sonic and Sally were indeed kids together.
They even throw little hints. I don't know how this works timeline-wise, where they were in the show versus in the comics, but I noticed the careful wording of almost overnight my father had vanished, which almost comes off as he was murdered, but obviously that isn't what it was.
Yeah, I don't know if they would have had the intel on the Void at this point, and I don't know the timeline for this, because this is issue number 17, so that's more than a year into the comics production, but I don't know where Sat AM was at after a year. I don't even know how the seasons were split. I mean, I know which episodes are counted as which seasons, but I don't know how they
Right, right.
But yeah, interesting little story here. There's no jokes. You know, it's not trying to be funny at any point other than the chili dog line.
Yeah, I think this is the first part in the comics that I can remember as a kid reading through it. I'm like, this is boring. Get on with the good stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, it's weird because on the one hand, I like it when they take themselves a little bit more seriously. On the other hand, this is going to start a trend in Pender's stories, which is backup stories for issues that don't actually conclude and are mostly just one character talking to themselves, and then, in this case, finding a glowing orb.
Ooh, so mysterious.
Ooh, spooky.
But we don't get to find out what it is until later. Later today, at least. But yeah. Moving on to Sonic number 18. They're getting married again.
It's crazy. 2 issues apart, man.
Yeah, I do like Tails punching Robotnik in the face.
Yeah, more proof Tails is the best character.
Yeah, I always love
Or
Tails.
second, or maybe second best. I don't know. Are we considering Chuck the best character here as well?
Obviously.
Okay, fair enough.
I think he will be. We haven't seen a lot of him, to be fair.
That's true.
Okay, well, he will be. I guess at this point in the comics, you could say Tails is the best.
As soon as we can, we will consider Chuck the best character.
Definitely.
Sonic should be proud of Tails. He shouldn't be upset that Tails is hogging all the action, so to speak.
Yeah, come on, Sonic. Be proud your little guy is he's beating up the big man.
Yeah, he's your son. Be proud of it.
You birthed him yourself. Oh god, no, there's probably fan art of that. Never mind.
Alright, time to get away from this. Our story for this issue is Wedding Bell Blues, written by Kantrovich and Penders, art by Monik. When he hears that Sonic and Sally are supposedly getting married, Robotnik launches an attack to crash the wedding. They were really dedicated to teasing this ship, but then never actually committing to it.
So,
Yep.
Why does Robotnik feel the need to crash this wedding?
Because the freedom fighters are there and he wants them roboticized.
He just wants to
guess,
ruin their fun.
Fair enough.
I don't think there's anything specific about it being a wedding, other than it's a thing people are happy for, and that makes him even angrier.
Oh, well, you know, that's probably it, actually.
You know, it's yeah, mostly filler, as we're very used to at this point. You know, you've got some fun, you know, Robotnik shenanigans, and you know, Sally finally has her vest, which I guess means that we've placed this wrong, because technically In Your Face should come before this, but whatever.
It's such a small...
It doesn't, though, because the preceding...
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Bit of the story,
they drew this shit out of order.
Yeah, they did. The art is no respect for continuity.
I mean, I think that's part of the problem with doing stuff with multiple different writers. Things can get inconsistent fast.
Yeah, you have to have a lot of people coordinating, and it doesn't always work. And
yeah,
not unlike hosting a wedding, really.
But yeah, I mean, this is a fun story. I like
the
the way that Robotnik learns of this, where Motobug is like spying and comes to inform Robotnik, and Krabmeat's like, an urgent message from Motobug, sir. And Robotnik responds with, Motobug? To him, everything is urgent. Which is a great bit of like, well, that's comedy, and then also it like gives you a glimpse into Motobug's personality, which I'm all for giving the Badniks little personalities like that. Also, while I hate most needless references, I felt they did a little bit of a better one when Bat Brain comes and spies on Sonic and then like covers part of the light and makes the bat signal. That actually got a laugh out of me.
That was pretty fun.
Shortly before that bit, I like that when they're talking about, practicing the wedding, because, spoiler alert, I don't think we mentioned this, they're not actually getting married, it's a stage play that they're putting on for some reason. I like that Sonic says, when tomorrow comes, I'll be there to say, Yahoo, I do. I want whoever I'm at the altar with, I want them to say that to me.
Yahoo, I do. That is a great sentence.
It's so bad. I love
it.
I enjoy all of Robotnik's antics all the time. He gets like this whole military strategy meeting and even has a little hat and assembles his Robotnik squad of badniks. And I like how he's like, many of you will not return from the coming conflict. Frankly, I could care less.
Some of you may die, but that is a risk I am willing to take.
Yes.
At the end, I do kind of like the ending, which is that Sally like cuddles up to Sonic and she's like, I think this old barn is the perfect place for our real wedding. Wouldn't you agree, Sonic? And he just runs away and he's like, hey kids, I don't have anything against marriage, but I'm not doing it.
Sure, Sonic.
He says, since I'm a great catch, she'll have to catch me first, which just implies to me, no, I am never getting married to anyone because nobody is faster than me.
Does kind of come off of that, yeah.
I got
Nick
nothing.
is more bothered by the fact that it's a fake wedding than the fact that he lost.
Yeah, he gets there and he's like, it's a fake that's stupid.
It's kind of hilarious.
And our second story here is in the Still of the Night, Sally's Crusade Part 2. Still Kandrovich Penders Mowini. Sally is left directionless and grieving when her longtime mentor Julayla passes away.
Oh no, not Julayla. They were a great character that wasn't invented for this story.
Well, so she's Rosie's cousin, I think? Which, hi Rosie, you weren't in this comic before now either.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a bit weird because definitely canonically they are cousins, but Julayla is a cat here, which she should be a woodchuck.
Wait.
They will draw her as a woodchuck later, but she is a cat for now.
God damn it.
Oh, they literally retconned it. Okay.
I don't even know if it's a retcon. I think our Mowini just maybe made a mistake, or maybe they weren't meant to be related. I don't know, because it doesn't say they're cousins in this comic, but it's definitely canon.
Okay, I was thinking, like, I did not remember him mentioning that they were comics. They were cousins.
No, they were comics. Sally was mentored by a floating comic book. As for what this actually is, it's mostly just them talking and us seeing a little bit of flashbacks and such, and so, we see a little bit of the coup, we see a little bit of... Okay, this part doesn't make sense to me. Sally had a debutante ball, apparently, where she danced with Sonic. The coup happened when they were like 5 years old!
More things to retcon later, Devin.
More things to completely ignore later, but yeah.
Same difference.
Did they say what she's dying of?
Death.
That was gonna be my answer.
Well, I mean, death will kill you, so...
Yes, it will.
I will say, I don't mind the last page here, where Sally's just quietly being sad and Sonic's, like, coming to console her. Pender's dialogue tends to be pretty wooden, and that's not different, but, I don't know, it's just a nice little moment.
I do kind of like the line, tomorrow is almost yesterday.
We'd be sitting out there for a long time.
Yeah.
Hey, sometimes you just gotta stare up at the sky.
I guess I have no right to say that to, like, yeah, okay, the long time, Guardian is dead. So it's like, yeah, okay, that's probably a justifiable reason.
But yeah, we'll pick up on where that goes really soon, actually.
Yeah.
Yes, in Sonic the Hedgehog In Your Face, the first Sonic special. I like this cover. It has nothing to do with any of the stories, and I always get it mixed up with the Sonic Spinball issue cover, but it has nothing to do with that.
It's funny that we've started to do some relevant covers, but they did not choose to do a relevant cover for the special.
Yeah.
Well, the special that definitely is pretty plot important.
Yeah, and just more elaborate in general.
Yeah.
It's a 48-page special, which means we have to have a table of contents. Yeah, and we finally the conclusion to this Sally's Crusade trilogy of stories, which the first two were not much in the way of stories. This one's called The Quest, written by Kantrovich and Penders, drawn by Mawini. After obtaining some mementos from the late Julela and discovering the secret of the Oorb, Sally sets out on a pilgrimage to the Forbidden Zone, with the Freedom Fighters in tow and Badniks to fight.
I like the way you said Oorb.
Oorb? Yeah.
Oorb.
Oorb.
So, out of order issues aside, I think this is a neat little explanation for the vest.
Yeah, she gets the vest from Julela.
My only question is, why is it treated like a big treasure?
Sonic Comics did everything like this. The explanation for Sonic getting his adventure design is bonkers. The explanation behind Knuckles' OVA hat is extremely weird. There's an entire story about how Tails got his shoes.
Wait, why do these need to be explained?
Because tying a story to an object is an easy way to write something, I guess, if you don't have any ideas.
Yeah. That just seems so shit that doesn't need to be explained.
Yeah.
Well, when she doesn't have the vest, and then she does have the vest, and you're like, what the heck, man? Doesn't make sense.
I mean,
and then they're like, oh, it found it in the box. Now you're like, you don't have to explain everything.
No, okay, but I would be perfectly happy with just Sally, with a one-off line of Sally saying, yeah, I thought it looked cool.
Well, it isn't the focus of the story. There's another object.
No, I know. It's just like, I don't know.
Listen, if we need an explanation for anything, I want an explanation for this creepy-ass sparring gear that Sally is wearing when she's sparring with Sonic.
Thank you for bringing that up. It gives me Jason vibes.
Yeah, or like Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, it's very. I think I kind of procrastinated on reading the last two issues for this week, and I think that mask might have been part of the reason, because I didn't want to look at it.
You just open it and go, oh, nope, okay. Closing the book.
Sort of.
I will say that all these panels of them fighting, and the fact that they fill up the whole page is even a big part of it. It really makes the art stand out a bit more, and the framing and just the paneling is much more cinematic.
Yeah, it does feel like, at least this story, it's weird to say had a higher budget, but
it's got more production values. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got more production values, and it's cool. It feels like an episode of Sad AM.
Yeah. They do a whole like border. They fight Robotnik's border patrol, and they get into the Forbidden Zone. There's like a whole cave of trials.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I will say the cave of trials is weird because they're not really trials for Sally.
They're just kind of trials in general.
Yeah, you just kind of gotta fight the big boy. You gotta fight the Griffin, and Tails pulls the sword from the stone, which I guess means that he is the next king of England.
Okay. Actually, these are trials for, I guess, what you could argue are the three most prevalent freedom fighters, because Sonic solves the first puzzle, and then our boy Tails solves the second one.
Yeah.
And then Sally, the character of the story, solves the third one.
So I was going to mention that it really feels like this is more trials, like it's all to push the idea that you don't just rely on yourself, rely on the people with you as well.
I suppose. And you could almost do that in like a like a philosophical sense, like, oh, she's a quote unquote monarch, but really it's it's the collective power of the people.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm neglecting to mention Nicole throughout all this because Nicole is kind of just she's kind of just a map. She's kind of just a guide.
Yeah,
A
she's not
Na'vi
really that using her describing her as like Navi is a good way to describe her. She does feel very just kind of thrown in.
Well, I mean, that is one of her roles in Sat AM. Is just information.
That's
So
true.
that's pretty consistent.
I think to me it feels like they just threw Nicole in because oh shit, she's in Sat AM. We need to associate her with the comics also.
Yeah, it's weird that like we began this with a lot of stuff from Satam being gone, with no Snively, no Bunny, no Nicole. So I feel like there must have been some crossed wires in terms of production documents, because if they had all that stuff from the start, I feel like they would have started with it,
I'm sure they probably would have.
But yeah, so they get to the end, and in it is a scroll, and well, the
And
scroll
suddenly it transitions.
yeah, to a I can't call it a time skip because this isn't the canonical future. The scroll tells us the scroll tells us that Nicole is a bootstrap paradox created by Rotor years in the future, where Robotnik has been defeated and Sonic and Sally are the king and queen.
So here's the problem.
That
right?
is dumb.
At the end, well, they make this whole future thing, which you can't just skip to it like that, and then they discredit themselves by being like, "Is this the real future? Did we just waste your time, losers?"
So,
but if it is, then is Nicole just from space?
Magic.
So, here's what it is that when Ken Penders wrote this, and I'm not saying this as speculation, this is his explanation. When he wrote this, he fully intended for this future to be the true canonical future of Sonic the Hedgehog, technically as a property, since he says this version is the real version and that the games don't matter. But Sega would say, you don't get to decide that. It's not your character.
Right.
So they say this is one of many possible futures, because that's just a good choice for a franchise. You don't want to set things in stone, especially if they suck.
That's covering your ass.
Yeah, which and I'll say this, I've never liked the idea of Sonic and Sally just being the normal king and queen. That's not within Sonic's personality, at least.
No, it's not.
Sally's either, but so he did this, and then they said, no, it's just one of possible futures. And then he did it again, because this is not the same future as Mobius 25 years later, which is a different future where Sonic and Sally are the queen, and would eventually have had a different scene where they had to create Nicole and send her back in time. So this isn't even the same Nicole.
Oh my god.
Now, that didn't actually become a story that was published. That's just something that Penders said he wanted to do, but didn't.
Okay. Oh, thank Christ.
But it...
Oh my god.
It is a mess. And this is not the last time we're going to see this specific future, but it's not going to last forever. It's not... This future's days are numbered.
Good.
I will say the one thing that I like throughout this whole story is that we keep getting these insert pages of just cool art.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
It's drawn by Patrick Spaziant, who will become the greatest artist on these comics pretty much indefinitely. There's also a little short here called The Mirror Zone, where Sonic and Tails get stuck in... Okay, well, it looks like the Phantom Zone in the one panel where it's red, but...
Yeah, no, this is a fun comic. I loved this as a kid. Oh yeah, go grab a mirror. Ha, that's clever. That's fun.
I guess it feels less cool when... it's not that hard to read things backwards.
Well, clearly we have different opinions when it comes to the interactive elements in these comics, but yeah.
I guess, yeah. I don't know.
The last story in this special is called Tails' Tallest Tale, which is both written and illustrated by Scott Shaw, who we have not seen since the miniseries. While attending a Sonic fan meetup, Tails lies about his ability to defeat Robotnik, and is put on the spot when Robotnik himself attacks the convention.
I kind of just skimmed this story, I'm gonna be honest.
They just invented furry conventions.
God damn it.
Why is Tails going to a fan convention for someone that he knows personally and is like...
Maybe he was invited.
He was
Yeah,
invited.
but he's not like hosting a panel. He's just there like as a fan.
I mean,
No, they invited him as a guest.
They did invite him as a guest, but he's not.
He's not going to play the role of I don't know.
No, but he's there. He has some questions asked.
I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
But,
I submit.
I don't know.
It is weird to have a fan club for like these characters in universe. I'll say that.
That is odd.
I have to wonder if maybe, Scott Shaw had just been going around. It's like, oh, there's a Sonic fan meetup. I can write a story about this. That would actually be kind of cute. I would like that.
Yeah, kind of.
I have to mention, so Tails tells an extravagant story, and then he's put on the spot because Robotnik actually comes and attacks the convention, and then he gets punched away, and then this possum looks a lot like a possum from Adventures of Sonic, but it's not the same one. Comes and stands up to Robotnik, and we get an absolutely brutal line from Robotnik to the possum when he says, "Oh, you have spunk, eh? Do you know what spunk is? It's the gooey possum-colored stuff that's going to be stuck on the bottom of my giant robot toes."
Get owned. I will say, as much as I like Robotnik talking about gooey spunk, the fact that Tails actually does beat him makes it, kind of weird, because you'd think that the moral here would be that lying is wrong, but Tails, it's really just that he struggles slightly more than he said he would. He just becomes good enough at fighting that it's not even implausible.
Well, it's just that he doesn't get to be in the action very much, I think is the thing. He's capable, but he doesn't get a chance a lot of the time. So we have to make up a story. And then, everyone gets nervous when they're put on the spot.
Yeah, maybe this is actually about stage fright, I guess. But yeah, that's the end of the first Sonic special. And they would make these, especially when they became the super specials, they would make these kind of an event, here for big stories. And that's really why they would make them, is because you put a big story in a big special issue, more people will buy that, and probably for an increased price.
Oh, definitely.
So as much as we hate that they're sectioning it off, it's not that it doesn't make business sense.
Sure. I mean, it's just weird that they mark it like it's a different comic somehow. They could just have specials within the same run, surely.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the super specials ended up being, but for these early ones, yeah.
But yeah, no, I'll admit, it's grand, extra long. You got really cool art and stuff, so yeah, no, it's neat.
Yeah, and the quest is pretty fun. It's like an actual like adventure story.
Yeah.
But that finally segues into our last issue for today, Sonic number 19, and boy, what a cover that is.
I didn't realize that this story was so soon after the introduction of parallel universes in this comic.
Yes, because we're beginning with Night of 1,000 Sonics. Kantrovich and Penders, art by both Monik and Mawini at different points. When the multiverse is threatened by an alternate universe Robotnik, Sonic teams up with his Robotnik and many alternate copies of himself to conquer the domineering roboticized Doctor.
I just can't believe the writers really jumped the gun and brought this concept to its logical conclusion in the second appearance of the Cosmic Interstate. It's just let's go way overboard immediately.
I know. I'll tell you what it reminds me of. Well, you won't care, but it reminds me of the Tournament of Power. Because in Dragon Ball, they had, the introduction, the revelation, after 20 years of this series existing, that, hey, there's actually 12 universes that each have their own Supreme Kai, their own God of Destruction, their own adventures, some of them even have their own Friezas, and then their first thing that they do is have a giant tournament of all 12 universes together, and almost everybody from the alternate universe is just, a stupid, weak, pile of garbage who gets easily beaten until the big fight against the strong guy. And, that's the well, not the exact same deal, but it's a similar deal with this, where you have all of these alternate Sonics. They're just gimmicks.
Yeah, well, when this isn't in a special. Maybe it should have been in a special. It feels like a special, kind of, because they're just going so overboard. But yeah, no, truly, almost all of them are gimmicks. You do get a little bit for some of them. I will say particularly, Cyborg Sonic, I'm just Yes, that is so rad. Like the little nerd in me is like screaming. That is awesome.
Yeah, and this is also our first appearance of Robo Robotnik, a roboticized Robotnik with black SWAT bots that are called shadow bots and are supposedly more dangerous.
He's just oozing awesomeness. I mean, he's a Robotnik from another universe that had to pay the ultimate price. He was backed to a corner and he did the thing that Robotnik never does and roboticizes himself. It's just the best backstory ever, man.
It does make our Robotnik really weird, though, because that means that he is fully human. So what's up with the eyes and his weird ear bolts and the fact that he drinks motor oil?
I have to imagine the synthetic parts are like replacements by necessity. Maybe there was an accident, he had to replace an arm, and I don't know how gruesome, he lost his eyes or something. But you would never go the full way.
Yeah.
The motor oil is obviously just a joke.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but it's a legitimate question still.
I do like that there's a little bit of infighting between the alternate Sonics, and not just because Evil Sonic shows up, because Robo Robotnik grabs him to fight for him, but we have the big buff Sonic, who's just like, I'm strong, what can little Sonic do when big Sonic exists? And he just tries to stomp on them. It's like, what's your damage, asshole?
And so I have a problem with how Anti-Sonic shows up. He shows up in a Terminator reference, right? So
of course.
Why was that not Mecha Sonic or Cyborg Sonic, whatever the fuck his name is?
Yeah, he just because Cyborg Sonic just falls out of the portal, and that makes much more sense for Anti-Sonic, whereas Cyber Sonic, because they both wear leather jackets. So
yeah, that was another question. Why is he dressed like Anti-Sonic?
I don't know, because Cyber Sonic definitely isn't a variation of Anti-Sonic.
No.
Because here's a hint. The chronology of Robo Robotnik and his canon status is an absolute mess, and it is such that Cyber Sonic, if Penders is to be believed, is actually a different alternate Sonic that we've already seen. I'm gonna let you guys stew on what that means.
Hold on, what?
There's only been one comic with an alternate Sonic, I think.
You're not gonna believe it when we get to it. I'll tell you guys after we stop recording.
That's fair.
Man, I love the insanity this is becoming already.
I love the shortcuts that the artists are taking, because when Sonic and all of the other Sonics are traveling through the cosmic interstate, there is one point where they reach the neutral zone where there is no color, and they can give the colorist a break.
Maybe if they had stayed on it a little longer instead of just like, oh, this is just a place where it's white, and yeah.
No, this is not a super this is not a super special 15 situation. This is just 2 pages, but
yeah.
I would also like to say I kind of think the black and white looks better than the colored anyway.
Okay, so I do have to address this. Part of the reason that the colors look weird on these books,
I'm guessing it's because it's the digital version.
So the digital versions, specifically the Sonic Archives, because I think once you get past the point where they stopped making the archives, the colors are much more flat and basically as originally presented. But the digital versions, the archives have this gradient shading to everything that makes it way harder to parse a lot of visual information because it's just not solid.
Interesting.
And so I can get why you would prefer the black and white style, because it's very readable.
Yeah.
So yeah, they venture through the neutral zone, and they find the frigging Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, that was odd.
Yeah, I was almost gonna say this is my end game. This is my crossover, although it's not with an actual crossover. So there you go. There's my.
It's also not the actual end game.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
So I wanted to leave this until we actually review the Endgame arc of the comics, but there's a Penders tweet out there where he claims that Marvel's Endgame the name is inspired by his comic Sonic Endgame.
Jesus Christ.
He's so funny. He's so funny in a terrible way. Anyway, so yeah. They get the Infinity Gauntlet, and it doesn't end up working. It ends up being Robotnik gets it, or Robo-Robotnik. But he comes at them with the giant Borg, which is a big robot.
So there's a cool little bit here where they both decide to find the giant Borg because I love the parallels. So, all the good Sonics team up with Robotnik, and he's like, well, see, I know exactly how Robo Robotnik would think, which is just awesome. And then Robo Robotnik is like, okay, then I'll have evil Sonic. And so it's like the two sides parallel each other, and so they take the same steps. And I just think that's really neat. Also, little note, when evil Sonic gets the Not Infinity Gauntlet, there's a line from him. Once these black metal jacket types have done their thing, I'll be the one and only Sonic, which hints at what you mentioned last episode, that evil Sonic is motivated by an inferiority complex. And yes, there are the hints.
Yeah, he wants to be the real Sonic. I still don't know how why he considers himself an alternate, but
It's a troubled character.
I want to point out the relationship between evil Sonic and regular Sonic is somewhat similar to Liquid and Metal Snake. And Liquid, on
Metal
his
Snake?
own... Metal Snake? No, Solid Snake. I did the stupid types of matter fuck up.
So you're saying that he resents Sonic for, like, basically having the better outcome in life.
Basically, because Metal considers him... Why did I say Metal? Liquid! Jesus! Liquid considers himself the inferior clone, and it's clear Anti-Sonic considers himself somewhat of an inferior Sonic. For what reason? I don't fucking know.
So I guess this makes Cybersonic Solidus?
I mean...
I don't know. Don't analyze that. I'm just being a joke. Anyway, back to the issue. This is a recurring thing in these comics, is that we have often very, very big robots that don't put their size to a lot of use. This one does a bit more because he at least smashes and stomps the ground. But I love the giant full-page spread of all of the blue buzzsaws attacking the giant Borg.
That is awesome. And they have a little ice pie thing, too. Just very, very Sonic Comics, yes.
Yeah, well, it is that they're doing this giant battle scene that, any other comic would try to take some amount seriously, and they're like, hey kids, can you find the crowbar and all this debris?
I definitely did that. I found them all as a kid.
I can see the kitchen sink, the chainsaw, the name tag. That's all I can see right now.
But yeah, so they all work together, which I kind of like how it was foreshadowed earlier by the big Sonic. It's like they're trying to make like somewhat complex plots by having little elements that come back. And then, is it just me that sees Robo Robotnik's defeat as very ominous? Because like his head pops off, and then Robotnik's or Sonic is like makes a joke about Yorick, Shakespeare, and then Cyborg Sonic is just like, no, that's mine. I'm taking this and I'm leaving. And he seems like angry. Like there's some tension there. It's weird.
I did not understand why Cyborg Sonic took the head. I assume that'll come up later.
Kind of. I think
All right.
I think honestly, in all honesty, I think Cybersonic is just bitter. I think that he's been at this for a while and transformed into a man-made horrors beyond our comprehension, and is like, yeah, I'd like to stop being this. Existence is a little bit pain for me right now. So it's just a case of, and he wouldn't want to see regular Sonic again, because A, regular Sonic would be a reminder of the existence that he cannot have, and B, if they see each other, that means that something interdimensional conflict is going on, and that's just not a good thing.
Fair.
That sounds about right.
I will say the disappointing thing is that at the end, we have all of these Sonics here, and we have Robotnik, and you'd think that, hey, this would be a good chance to wipe out regular Robotnik once and for all. No, they just go home.
I guess he's not a credible threat right now. They just killed big bad Robotnik.
Yeah, you've got many. Oh my gosh. Suddenly I'm thinking, it just like a death squad of Sonics go from each universe to each universe.
Jesus.
Wiping out
Jesus.
Robotnik. Think about it. No, that's not the way they would do it, Devin.
Yeah. So, that's it. That's our last comic for today. And I would say that, this, run of, comic issues, it was much more things that we picked and pulled at, whereas I think that before it was just that we were dismissive of the stories on the whole. So I would say that means that we're seeing a little bit of an uptick in at least the elaboration of the writing, if not the quality.
Yeah.
No, 100%. I think these were all pretty fun stories, and yeah, there were lots of elements that were interesting and had little details to focus on.
And I'm rating these stories a strong 6 out of 9.
I rate them a 6 out of 10.
I rate them a yes, very good out of normalness.
Oh, that's a high rating, man. I don't know if you're gonna be able to top that. But next time on Deep Dive Zone, we had Sally taking the center stage for a little bit today, but she is going to take it for 3 whole issues next time, because we're going to be reviewing Sonic number 20 and 21, but we're also going to be talking about the 3-issue Princess Sally miniseries, which might be good and might be terrible. I honestly don't remember a thing about it, even though I already took notes on it.
Oh boy.
Catch you then, I suppose.
Thank you all so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, feel free to share, comment, and subscribe, and if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can always reach us at deepdivezonepod@gmail.com or at deepdivezone on Twitter. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week.